Khalid Nasseri, Morocco's communications minister. I've also been speaking to Nabila Ramdani, a specialist in the Middle East and North Africa. Why does she think Morocco has been attacked?
Well, as the minister pointed out, there are frequent onslaughts by the government, by the Moroccan government against terrorist cells in the country, and as the country has a very distinct problem with Islamic radicalism, and the government has dismantled since 2002 over 70 terrorist cells as a preemptive measure to deal with the terrorism. And the Casablanca bombings, which occurred in 2003, were carried out by Al-Qaeda in retaliation for Morocco's cooperation in the war on terror. And since the cooperation between Morocco and indeed America in the war on terror, Morocco has been targeted by Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda has had a vendetta against the country, and precisely because Morocco has handed over terrorist suspects to the Americans. So in that respect, it's a very vulnerable country.
But in recent years, we've seen the emergence of this other grouping, Al-Qaeda, in the Islamic Maghreb. Do they have more specific grievances against the Moroccan government?
Well, I think what I've just mentioned is crucially part of why Al-Qaeda is specifically targeting Morocco. But it also has to be pointed out that behind, the myth of tourism, palm trees, camels and Medinas, there is huge poverty and human rights abuses in Morocco. And the sad reality is that while Al-Qaeda may well be behind the suicide bombing today, it's very likely that it's being carried out by disaffected young men coming from an industrial area.
So you're saying that Morocco is fertile ground for those who would wish to strike against the Moroccan government?
Very much so. There were unconfirmed reports describing the young man who carried out this suicide attack. People described him wearing a Real Madrid football top, and he ordered an orange juice when he went into the restaurant. And this would suggest that it fits in with the profile of the rather naive, idealistic youth who are indoctrinated into taking part in that kind of horrific crimes.
Now, I'm not suggesting for one moment that you've made this connection, but Raf in Morocco has emailed us to say, BBC, do not link this horrific act to our protests, a reference to the pro-democracy protests. It's lazy and dangerous journalism. Nonetheless, is there a connection insofar as there is this disaffection that you mentioned?
I think poverty and human rights abuses are important factors to understand the anger of the young people in Morocco. I have been speaking to Moroccans today, and some of them have suggested that the very fact that British but also French tourists have been targeted in this suicide attack could suggest that it's quite possible that the suicide bombing was a reaction to the military action in neighbouring Libya, for example. Let's not forget that France and Britain are very much leading the military actions in Libya.
That was Nabila Ramdani, a specialist in the Middle East and North Africa.